everyone. Welcome all to the Snail Trail 4x4 podcast. If you like off-roading in Toyotas, wrenching on Toyotas, camping in Toyotas, and maybe even poking a little bit of fun on Toyotas, and of course, hearing about how amazing something else is in Toyotas, then this is the podcast for you. Give me something, Jimmy.
Oil pumps.
If you like learning how great oil pumps are in Toyotas, then this is the podcast for you. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tyler, and joining me again over there, that strange voice, is Mr. J Daddy Jimmy Jet with the oil pump master himself. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. I'm not sure if I'm quite an oil pump master yet.
Getting there?
Getting there. Yeah, working on it.
You haven't had, 10,000 hours?
Definitely
working on oil pumps?
No, I was going to say I maybe have 10,000 hours of working on Bobcat, but I don't even think that's true.
Yeah. I wonder how much is 10,000 hours? How many days is
10,000 hours.
That's true. That's fair. It's a fair assessment.
I don't know.
Your math is correct, sir.
Shall we?
I didn't need Constantine to tell me that one.
Let's see. 10,000 divided by 12?
24.
24? Mm-hmm. You want to do days?
Mm-hmm.
That's 416 days.
So
straight.
Multiply that by 3.
1,250.
So 1,250 days as in an 8-hour job in order to be considered a professional at it.
Almost 3.5 years.
3.5 years to become a professional? Yeah. I guess if you're focusing on that job that long, 3.5 years, yeah. I would trust somebody's opinion if they've been doing something for 3.5 years.
Yeah. Straight.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah. Right.
Wow.
Anyways. Yeah. So oil pump master, not quite there yet, Jimmy.
No.
Sorry, man.
Unfortunately. No. Yeah.
That's all right. We'll just keep your J Daddy nickname then.
Perfect. I've been daddying for 3.5 years pretty consistently.
There you go. Yeah. Well, how was your Thanksgiving? This is Monday, the Monday after Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good. Retroactively speaking to some extent. My family always gets together out in Santa Rosa. Mm-hmm. Hi, Sean Spaghetti. Sorry I missed you this year. But yeah, it's always a good time out there. It's always fun to see family. The group that we stay with they're just really fun cousins of mine that are a little older than me, but they have the same energy level and same drinking habit that I have.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Those are the best cousins.
It's great. They just built a bar out back.
Nice.
And we do our little, thanksmas for the most part of that side of the family. Yeah. And so I laser etched them whiskey glasses.
Oh, cool.
Their last name is Bray. And so I drew up a few logos and I sent it to them. And I was like, what logo do you like?
Nice.
And it's this little donkey like Lorenzo thing holding a beer and it says Bray's Bar underneath it. It's really kind of cool.
That's pretty sweet. Yeah, I've got a big laser project ahead of me.
Yes, you do.
I've got 44 table centers to do for Black Tie and Boot.
That'll be fun though.
It'll be fun. I'm excited because we're doing it on a slate this year, and the slate lasered looks really good.
It does. It does. It whitens. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. So anyways, laser projects. Woo. Let's see. This is the Monday after Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Cyber Monday.
That's right. All the Cyber Monday, Black Friday stuff is going on this week. So
which really means that Tyler and I right now are just crying watching all these orders come in. Because I realize how much work we have to do.
The employees are crying. That's what I have employees
for. I'm crying because I'm a one-man show.
Yes.
Hopefully you supported small businesses on Small Business Saturday. Mm-hmm. I'm going to make a pretty pointed post on Saturday about how I think I'm the only one-man tailgate company out there in the industry. So if you are looking for a tailgate on Small Business Saturday, I should be the one that you're buying it from.
There we go. I like it.
Yeah.
That'll be kind of fun. Tailgate company out there.
Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, man. Things have been going well. I think this Monday episode is going to be a little different from our typical Mondays.
Yeah, for the most part.
We'll get through a little bit of housekeeping stuff, but we haven't gotten kind of caught up with things that Jimmy and I have been up to.
Yeah.
We did some different kind of main topic-esque episodes for Thursdays the past couple weeks. So we haven't gotten to talk about kind of what we've been up to and the shit we've been pulling so that you guys can learn lessons from us to not do.
Yeah.
So we'll get through housekeeping here. We're looking at one more week here of November. So you have one more week to get into the giveaway for this month for a Gen 2 MORRFlate PSI Pro compressor. Those are crossing my fingers.
Would it be wrong if I signed up on the Snail Trail thing so I can win one of these?
No, not at all. Maybe, probably. I mean, we kind of stole half of Will Richeson's proof syrup. So
no, we didn't. Unless you had more after the fact.
I may have had more after. Sorry, Will.
I was like, I only had like a quarter or a half of a shot.
Jimmy had a quarter to half of the bottle. Okay.
No.
Yeah.
Lies.
That might have been Tyler. No, I didn't take any more of Will's pumpkin syrup.
Okay.
Even though I wanted to.
Yeah. Understood.
Will, if you keep that over at Metal Cloak, I'll come over with whiskey. How's that?
Yeah. And I'll show up with cups.
There we go. Perfect. Party at Metal Cloak, Christmas party.
Yay.
Oh, man. So let's see.
Giveaway item this month. Get over onto iRate 4x4 to sign up if you want a chance to win a PSI Pro Gen 2, version 2, whatever you're calling it.
Gen 2.
Gen 2, which has a few upgrades that you will not find on any of the other automatic inflation ones out there on the market. It was funny. We talked about the compressor talk, and you talked about how other companies have been jumping on board with those, and how now you have Gen 2 coming out. And I had 3 to 5 people message me sending me links that they are getting like Black Friday specials on the other versions. And most everybody was like, I'm waiting for that Gen 2 to come out before I buy that one.
Yeah.
Because I know that these ones have some flaws. And the new MORRFlate Gen 2 PSI Pros are highly superior than what's out there on the market right now.
Yeah. Everything that we're changing on the Gen 2s is increasing the durability, right? We've already made a compressor that can output pretty much the limits of what a vehicle can accept with 4 tires and using Schrader valves still in a vehicle. So really you can't really improve the output anymore. All you can do is improve the durability and how long the compressors last now. And so that's what we did. We made a lot of changes with the Gen 2s to help improve that durability and the longevity of the compressors. So yeah, I'll just let everybody know now. The ones that were going to Australia, for all of our Australian listeners, they got held up in Australian customs on imports. And the ones coming to the United States got held up in Chinese exports. So we still have to get them out of exports and get them over to the U.S. and get them through U.S. customs. So it's taking now even longer than I was anticipating. So
yeah, I think your original plan when we were talking about this was they were going to be here at the beginning of this month.
They were going to be here originally middle of October.
Oh, dang.
That was the original production date and arrival date here in Sacramento.
Wow. Was
October 15th.
And here we are at the end of November and they're still not showed up.
Yeah.
So, sorry for everybody out there that might have ordered one. Can you order them? Can you pre-order them on Black Friday?
Yeah.
Or Cyber Monday?
Yeah, you can still. We're going to be running our Black Friday sales through 11/24, so November 24th through December 3rd.
Oh, okay.
So you have a whole week and a couple days to get in an order 20% off, and we have 2,500 of the 10.6 PSI Pros on their way in right now. So we'll have plenty to fulfill all the back orders. It's just taking longer to get them in because of A, making all the changes in the first place, and then B, we're dealing with a bunch of different custom stuff all across the world right now.
So when's that date ending?
December 3rd.
December 3rd. Got it. Okay, yeah. So Snail Armor is doing something similar. Nice. I'm running a 20% off discount as well, but I'm going through the end of day Cyber Monday. And then so on the 28th, I'm reducing the percentage.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm just doing a holiday sale, but I'm running that all the way through New Year's.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yep. I think that's what we're doing too. So ours will be from December 4th through New Year's on a holiday sale. So.
Got it. Cool.
Yeah, man.
So lots of sales going on now. If you're looking for anything MORRFlate or Snail armor, now's a fantastic time. Biggest sale, right? Cyber Monday is the end of the largest sale I'm going to do. I'm not going to raise the price again for Christmas.
Yeah.
Or the percentage. I'm going to reduce on Tuesday, and then it's pretty much going to stay that the rest of the year.
Yep.
So if you want a Snail armor, right now is the largest discount opportunity for you.
Yep. So cool. Go get that stuff. If you guys want to get signed up for giveaways for the $5 tier, anything like that, which gets you access to some fun things. That's all done over at irate4x4.com. So just go over, check out the forum boards. A lot of fun stuff going on over there. Just head down to the Snail Trail 4x4 forum, and then all your sign up options will be there in the Snail Trail 4x4 forum. So
excellent.
Yep. We need to, you and I, Jimmy, Mr. J Daddy, we need to reconvene on getting up the donation tier.
Yes.
So I think we have everything figured out logistically what we're going to do. We just need to sit down with Austin and make it all happen.
Sounds good.
So, and that'll be donations towards trail advocacy organizations.
Yeah.
For listeners to be able to donate and have an easy and simple way to donate to trail advocacy organizations like Blue Ribbon Coalition, Tread Lightly, U4WDA, Cal4 Corva, all those good, all the good organizations, RTF. So
yeah, our first series of donations though are going to go to Blue Ribbon.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and Austin listens, so I'm sure he's ready. He's just waiting for us to connect the dots.
Probably.
Yeah. So we'll get that going here ASAP for sure. If you guys leave reviews on the Apple podcast, that is probably the number one way to support the podcast, besides telling your friends about it and having them listen. I just told somebody the other day, we can get into that a little bit, but he was super excited to hear that there was another off-roading podcast out there.
Nice.
Not much of a podcast listener, but definitely going to check it out.
Yeah.
But if you leave a review on Apple iTunes or Apple Podcast, once we get to 750 reviews, we're giving away a set of tires from Yokohama Tire. Pretty much any tire that you want that they make, minus non-DOT tires and anything with a 20-inch rim or larger.
Yep. I do have a big apology to make.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. I'm actually kind of surprised. Nobody contacted me and corrected me on it, though.
Okay.
The Offroad podcast, I ran into them out at SEMA, and I was like, I'd never heard of them before. I thought they were a newer podcast. They've been around perhaps the longest.
Really?
Yeah. Longest or second longest podcast running Offroad podcast.
Wow. Okay.
They were the podcast that the Botkins were on before High Sierra 4x4.
Dang.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that podcast has changed hosts a few times.
Yes.
But the podcast itself, the Offroad podcast, has been around for a very long time.
Okay.
So my apologies to the Offroad podcast. You guys have been around much longer than we have. And I'm sorry for not knowing that.
We can't know everything.
Yes, I can, Jimmy.
We can try, but it doesn't always work out.
No, it does not. So let's see. Any other housekeeping stuff? We're kind of at the end of the month.
We're getting close to the end of the month. I think we could do most of the other housekeeping in a week or so, and we do F&Gs and birthdays and everything like that.
Cool.
No, we don't really have anything lined up for December's giveaway yet, but we'll get on that.
Yep.
And figure that out soon. Maybe we'll buy something on Black Friday and give that away.
Think about that. I have a used catalytic converter over there. If anybody,
I think we've offered to give that away for a few times now.
Nobody wants it.
Maybe we should just do it. Or you know what we did last year? And I'm throwing this out there. Feel free to shoot it down. We did Christmas presents.
Oh, that's right. We had a challenge for Christmas presents.
Yeah.
I liked that. That was fun.
Do we want to do that again?
I'm down to do it again.
Okay. Christmas presents / swag from Jimmy and Tyler. We'll get 2 winners. One winner from Jimmy, one winner from Tyler. You'll get a gift.
Yeah.
All right. That's December.
All right, cool.
So if you want in to get a chance for the MORRFlate higher compressor, get in now. If you get in now for that and hang on tight, you'll be eligible to win the gift presents from Jimmy and Tyler.
Sweet.
Cool.
I think I'm going to try and do something this year. We'll see if it plays out or not. I have an idea.
All right.
All right. So I guess with that being said, should we take a break and hear from Brian real quick?
Sure. And then we'll discuss about what the hell we've been up to.
Sweet. I like it. So without further ado, go ahead and grab your favorite drinks, everybody. Grab your favorite eggnog induced whiskey product, or is it the other way around? Whiskey induced eggnog product.
Whatever you want.
And we'll be right on back with today's campfire discussion.
Are you looking for superior suspension for your Toyota off-road vehicle? At 4-Wheel Underground, we take every effort to engineer tight tolerances and proper material thicknesses in order to achieve a durable suspension with bitchin' fitment. Check out our quality kits with USA manufacturing at 4wheelunderground.com.
Welcome back, everybody. We have been up to no good, and we have some updates for everybody.
Yeah.
On kind of things that we've been doing over the past couple weeks. I have an interesting discussion to talk about, which may take some time, so we'll do that one in a bit. I'm really curious because last time I went wheeling,
I
was supposed to go wheeling with my good buddy J Daddy. And I got a call at like 9 p.m. on the radio saying, "Oh, I can't go wheeling. I'm sorry. I got to go back home."
Is that what I sound like?
That's exactly what you sound like, by the way. And I was like, fine, whatever. I didn't want to wheel with you anyways.
Thanks for noticing me.
Pretty much. Eeyore. And you had to go home and call the trip, and you didn't get to go wheeling.
Yeah.
It turns out you had a lot of oil being slung out of the front of your engine.
Yeah.
So update. How is that going? What's going on with Bobcat? Is Bobby okay? Do you need an engine replacement? Are you putting an LS in? I think that's the important questions.
If
from the
anything,
listeners.
I would put speaking of that. Well, I think I mentioned it before. You know what? I'm second guessing myself now. We were way off on our engine codes names.
Oh yes, we were.
I got tons of messages, and I could mess it up now. Like the 1JZ.
That's the inline 6.
That's the inline 6.
Yeah, that was the super motor.
And then the UZ is the V8s. Yeah, and we were off, flipped those around in our minds.
Yeah, I think the 1UZ was the 4.7.
No, I think it's the 4.0.
Really?
I think so.
Okay, the 2UZ is the 4.7 then?
I don't know.
Whatever.
I don't know. I'm not going to agree.
Whatever.
Or disagree.
We know the 4.7 liter and the 5.7 liter and the 4.0 liter.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know the engine
the
names.
2.7 and 2.4.
And I was about to throw an engine code out there, but I'm not going to. I would say if I'm doing an engine swap, I would put the 4-cylinder from either a 2-wheel drive or the 4-wheel drive from like a first gen Tacoma.
Oh, so the 3HF.
Sure. It would probably be a 4 because of the 4-cylinder, and then it would be the QTR.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's cuter.
It's cuter
because it's small.
Perfect. You guys can send all your hate mail in to Jimmy at snailtrail4x4.com.
I don't remember offhand what the numbers are, but one of them the two-wheel drive one starts with a 2, and the 4-wheel drive one starts with a 3. And the 2-wheel drive one, there's a difference between, I think on the top end, it doesn't have. It's a different air aspiration, air mixture. Yeah,
style. Yeah,
or it's like multi-cam or single cam or something like that. And to me, I think it just is it's a more simple engine to have the 2-wheel drive version.
Yeah,
in there. Though a lot of people throw the 4-wheel drive version in there, but I would probably, if I'm doing an engine swap, I'd probably do one of those.
Yeah,
is what I would think. But I don't need to do an engine swap. Bobcat is okay. The problem is the assistant is not okay.
The assistant is not okay?
Yeah, that was going to be our only wheeling trip for the most part of the year, and I had to cancel it on her.
Do you ever on Suicide Watch now?
A little bit, yeah. But she understood what was going on, but she was really looking forward to actually going out and wheeling and camping, though the trip sounded horrible now in retrospect. So we kind of were...
It was an adventure, okay?
Yeah. But what was interesting is, so it threw a ton of oil.
Yeah.
Like there's oil lines on the ground. There's oil lines up the tire, oil lines on the frame, oil lines in the alternator, down the other side. Like it was oil everywhere. I have moved it around a few times in the yard, like taken it off the trailer and parked it and then drove it onto the pad in front of the shop and started taking it apart. It didn't throw oil any of those times.
Really?
And there was still oil in it because I had to drain the oil to start taking it apart, to get back in front of that front main seal and everything.
Yeah.
There's still oil in there.
Interesting.
So I don't know if it was like a fluke or what, but I've taken it apart anyway because I saw that there was a lot of oil coming out there. It was being flung by that. So I'm assuming that that's where it's coming out of. I'll replace these things and we'll see if that solves the problem or if the problem continues and it's actually somewhere else.
Yeah.
But super easy to take it apart. Took me no time at all. I didn't have to pull the radiator out. I took the top part of the air intake off, the part that comes, from one side to the engine to the air intake, took that apart, took the front of the mechanical fan attached to that, pulled that off, stripped off one of the bolts. So I'm going to have, nuts on there. Luckily I'd like ever so slightly was able to wiggle it off for the most part. It just barely. Yeah. Like I was, that point where that's
the big problem with the nuts on the mechanical fans is that for some reason they strip easy.
Yeah.
I don't know why those ones strip easier than like every other bolt and nut on these vehicles, but those ones strip super easy.
I wonder if it's a heat thing from coming straight through the radiator that makes those soft for some reason. Yeah, I'm not sure, but that sensation of like the wrench is on it and you can feel it slipping and you're like, I'm screwing this thing up. And then at the last second, it starts turning.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it did. So I was like, oh gosh. I'm sure I probably have a bolt biter that probably could have fit it.
Yeah.
But I messed it up enough that I was still able to get it off. Anyway, so pulled the mechanical fan off. Actually, you know what? I don't know if a bolt biter would fit between the mechanical fan and the pulley, more or less.
That's a good question. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe one of their new version ones, but got that off. When I took that off,
thin wall, deep socket bolt biters, Jesse.
Yeah,
that's what we're looking for next.
Not deep socket. There wasn't enough room to throw a deep socket in there at all.
Oh, I see.
It just
shallow.
I need a super shallow one, but I think their new version that has the wrench with it maybe could have gotten in there.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyways, I got it off without needing it. So when you pull that off, the pulley comes loose, so the belt comes off super easy. But I did have to loosen the other belt so I can both of those belts come off. From there, it's just a matter. I drained the oil, but then there's a matter of getting the crank pulley apart. And I pulled out the gear wrench 3/4 inch breaker bar.
Okay.
And threw on a 19 millimeter socket, I think it is.
For that crankshaft bolt.
Yeah. And then, stuck it on the crankshaft bolt, stuck it against the frame on one side, cranked the engine over real quick. Wham, tang, clank, clank, clank. The bar falls on the ground. The bolt is loose, and then I can easily pull that off and pull that apart. The seal did not look bad. I don't remember, but I'm fairly certain. I honestly don't recall, but I think I replaced the seal when I changed the pulley.
Okay.
So anyways, but it was like an HRK and a NR. It was an off-brand seal. So I said, all right, I'm going to Toyota and I'm going to buy the correct seal. So I pulled the seal off. The oil was drained, right? And then I went a little farther because I'm this deep. I might as well replace the seal behind the oil pump. And because of the pulley going bad in Moab, one of the bolts was like shredded.
Oh,
and
that's
messed
right.
up.
Yeah.
And so I did have to use bolt biters on that one to get that off. And then from there, it was easy to pull everything apart. So then I took it off, pulled the seal out, and went to Toyota and said, hey, I need a front main seal for a 22RE. I know that engine code name. And then I need the oil pump seal. And they're like, okay, type. Yeah, we have none of those in stock.
Yeah.
maybe now it's just such an old engine that they just don't carry those things anymore.
Yeah.
They were like, but we'll get it. Like, it's in Southern California. We'll get it. It'll be shipped up this evening. It'll be here at sometime tomorrow.
Okay.
The next day I took the mini assistant to school and they called me. Oh, I was literally on the drive home from dropping the mini assistant off. And I was like, all right, I'm right around the corner. Pull it to the front. I'm coming right now. I'll be there in a few minutes. Picked them up and drove home, threw them on the coffee table. And that's where they're at right now.
Nice.
I haven't put it back together yet.
Okay.
I need to look into, and thank you, John Allen, for reminding me. And I'm pretty sure I would have figured it out or reminded myself, but I appreciate the reminder that there's a priming process that you have to go through to put the oil pump back on. And I just need to look that up, Google it real quick to see how to do that besides filling it with some oil and then cranking it around. I don't know if there's anything more than that, but I do appreciate the reminder to do that because I do know that I now recall that there is a step-by-step process to putting this back together.
Okay.
And then it slapped the front main seal on and everything from there.
Okay.
So it shouldn't be that far away. Another small thing that I have to do is once I get that done, I do need to take Bobcat to get smogged.
Yeah.
So then Bobcat will be legally operational and we can go play on some trails at some point. But yeah, so that's the Bobcat saga. Nothing's really too set in stone if that's the actual solution yet or not. Every time I've started the truck since replacing the battery terminal, it has started. So I don't know if that was the actual. I bet you
that was your problem.
It might be. It very much might be that there was just a loose connection on the ground wire because that was broken. But yeah, so I need to fix that. And that is fixed, but I do need to make a more secure mount still for the battery. It's still ratchet strapped to prevent it from moving left to right. And then I did build the bracket on top to help it stop moving from up and down.
Yeah.
But I do think that eventually I do need an actual battery box in there to help hold it in.
Yeah. Well, cool. So updates. Speaking of smog,
yes,
I have a fun story for everybody out there.
I am ready. I know where this is going.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we've talked a little bit about it in the past, but we haven't really.
Yes, we have.
We didn't dive into. Did we dive into it? Because we were doing some testing on our own.
No, we have not dove into that, but we have dove into the issues that you've had with Kermit and registration.
Yes. So
we've even been out on trails and be talking, and I said, oh yeah, I'm one of the co-hosts on the Snail Trail 4x4 podcast, and somebody's like, oh my gosh, I've listened to that guy's problems with his registration and driving with the ham radio license plates, and that's why I don't want to get a ham radio license plate because of this and that. And I'm like, you mean that guy right there? Tyler is literally right there.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, that's so funny, I want to say hi to him.
Yeah, this time it wasn't really an issue with the plates.
Okay.
What's been going on is I went and realized that my registration should be coming up.
Yes.
On the 4Runner.
Yeah, you said that the other day. You're like, I think I need to register it soon.
Yeah, I was like, I think my registration is coming up here soon because this year I know I'm on a smog year. I had to get a smog check this year because it's been 2 years since I did the 3-4 swap and got it refereed.
Got it.
So I was like, okay, so I should be due for a smog. And I was like, I haven't gotten the notice, the DMV notice. And I was like, interesting. When is my I went and looked and it was July.
July, ladies and gentlemen.
July 2023 is
Tyler's
my registration
been
month.
Romping around in Kermit illegally since July.
I've been romping around a lot in Kermit since July.
Yes.
So I was like, well, shit, where the hell was my DMV registration notice? And this happened last year.
Yeah.
And the year before. And the year before. And the year before. So I've owned Kermit for about 4 years now. And 3 to 3.5, 4, whatever, 4 years, I think. And I've never received a DMV registration notice.
Interesting.
For Kermit.
Yeah. Okay.
Never have. And so I used to I was like, okay, whatever. It just keeps getting lost. And so last year on year 3, I was like, okay, year 1 and 2, maybe DMV lost some paperwork. 3 years in a row, there's something going on here. So I contacted the DMV. I was like, what is going on? And they're like, let me see here. Are you at this address? Yes, I am. Okay, they should be going to your address. And I was like, it definitely did not come to this address. They're like, huh. I start looking into it. They're like, oh, there's a current release of liability on the vehicle.
Right.
I was like,
what is that?
Yeah, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
So a release of liability is something you can do to a vehicle if either it's stolen or you've sold it.
Okay.
So what the release of liability does is it lives on the vehicle's VIN with the DMV, and it states that the current owner of the vehicle does not have liability ownership of the vehicle. The vehicle is still technically registered to that person, but they're not liable for the vehicle anymore.
Okay.
So if the vehicle gets into an accident, gets in a traffic violation, whatever it is,
it's not the owner's fault.
It's not the owner's fault.
Sounds like a good thing to release.
I know,
liability.
and I'm kind of like, maybe I want to keep that on there then.
Right.
But the big issue that I'm having with it, if there's a release of liability on it, the DMV doesn't send out your registration notice.
Yeah. Okay.
Which I'm
because
like,
you're not liable for it.
Because I'm not liable for it. Yeah. And I was like, okay, so how did a release of liability get on the vehicle? B, why does that stay with the vehicle, not the owner? Like that just seems weird that they separate those two things. And C, I might want to keep that on there, but I need to register the vehicle. And so I can't go down to like AAA and register do the vehicle registration through AAA because AAA doesn't know how ham radio license plates work.
Got it. Mm-hmm.
And so they can kind of pull up the vehicle with a VIN, but like then they get really confused because of the license plate. And so whenever I do the registration, I just do it online with the DMV, their online portal. Mm-hmm. However, I can't pull up the vehicle with the DMV
if it's not registered to you.
Because they stopped for some reason. Now, in order to pull up and do a vehicle registration, they need your notice number. I was like, well, I didn't get a notice.
Right.
And they need your license plate number. And I put in the license plate number and it's saying the license doesn't show up in the DMV database anymore. The license
plate. It with the space?
I did. I tried with space too. It's saying no dice. I'm like, all
right.
I'm so confused. What's going on? So I thought that I had all of the release of liability cleared last year. So I went in and went through this big process of getting the release of liability cleared off. Apparently what had happened was when I bought the vehicle from James, the previous owner, I got the registration title transfer submitted before he submitted the release of liability.
Yes.
And so
you registered the vehicle in your name, and then James sent in the release of liability and it released it from your possession.
Exactly. So there's a big problem there. I'm like, can anybody send in a release of liability on a vehicle now? And they're like, no, you have to be a registered owner of the vehicle in order to send in a release of liability. And I'm like, well, then how did the previous owner release the liability on the vehicle after it had been transferred to me?
Because he already was a registered owner of the vehicle.
I think somebody at the DMV didn't do their job fully.
Yeah.
Looked at previous owners of the vehicle, the history of the vehicle, saw his name on there and was like, oh yeah, we can do a release of liability, and processed it.
Yeah. They just saw a release of liability come in and they processed it.
Exactly.
They didn't look at anything.
That'd be my guess.
Yeah.
So anyways, I was like, okay, so how do I get the vehicle unreleased of liability so I get the notices about the DMV registration?
Yeah. And
they're like, oh, you just have to go into the DMV, take them this form, and then they'll apply it to your account and you should be all set.
Okay.
So, okay, cool.
Is this what you did last year?
This is what I did last year.
Yeah.
So this year, I didn't receive a registration renewal notice. Went and looked it up and realized it was back in July. I was like, okay, I definitely should have received one. I'm now 3 months overdue, whatever it was.
Right.
So I called the DMV and I'm like, hey, I think I know what's going on, but I'm not going to tell you the story. I want you to look into it and see what conclusions you come to. So I told them to look it up. They're like, oh, yeah, your registration is definitely overdue. And I was like, is there a release of liability on the vehicle? They're like, yes, there is actually. I'm like, God damn it. So I was like, okay.
Did they say who it was from?
No.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Did you submit one?
I should know this year.
Right?
I'm like, oh, why did it not come the next year either?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Let's keep this story going for years.
Right?
Then next year, somebody else, I'll get one of the MFers to do it.
Yeah, pretty much. So anyways, I ended up having to go. They're like, okay, the way to get this fixed is they're like, I submitted all the notes onto your account. So you just have to go into a field office and they should be able to get it all fixed for you. Okay.
That's what you said last year.
That's what you said last year. I'll do it again though. So I go into the field office and I'm literally there. They called me up. I said, hey, I have a release of liability on the vehicle. I filled out the forms for it last year. And so the people I talked to on the phone said all the notes are there in my account. You should be able to see everything that's going on, be able to fix it. So she goes, okay. So she pulls up the account. 15 minutes later, she goes, okay, you're all good. You can go. I was like, do I need to fill out any forms? Sign anything?
Pay my registration?
Yeah. I did pay the registration.
Yeah. Okay.
And she waived all the late fees. But I was like,
that was nice.
Yeah. I was like, what happened? And she goes, oh no, all your paperwork was here in your account. Just nobody ever applied it to your account.
Oh my gosh. Seriously?
This is the exact same thing that happened with my plates. I had to make new plates.
Yeah.
I had to pay, I think it was $20 to have the new plates made. And they never made the plates because they took the payment and the payment was sitting as a debit or a credit on my account because the person that took the payment never fucking applied the payment towards the plates on my account. So they never made the plates and sat there for like 2 months.
Wow.
And I was like, hey, what's going on with my plates? I'm just trying to check.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh yeah, it doesn't look like you ever paid for them. I was like, bullshit. I have a receipt right here that says I paid when I was last time into this field office. They're like looking at it like, oh, I see what happened. I'm like, what happened? They're like, oh, the person that helped you last time didn't apply the payment to the plates on your account. And I was like, so what? The payment just sits on my account as like a credit or something? They're like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I was like,
that's ridiculous.
So anyways, same thing happened again. They took all my paperwork in and didn't apply the paperwork to my account.
Right. So therefore you didn't get your registration papers and then you could have been pulled over and I don't know if you are arrested, but no, they probably they will take your vehicle from you because
after 6 months they can impound the vehicle.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that was fun.
Wow. So you got everything done and then you went to take Kermit to get smogged?
Yep. Took him to get smogged, passed with flying colors.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, I think on the CO2 was measuring half of the average, and then on the NOx it was measuring like 1% of the average.
Dang.
So Kermit's running clean, passed first time, no problems, and yeah, it's all smogged and Kermit's legal again now.
Excellent. Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you. I didn't know he was illegal for 3 months.
Yeah, so. Right. I think we've told part of that story before, at least the first section. And then since then, we have done a release of liability on Becky.
Yes, I called in to the DMV and tried to submit a release of liability online through their online portal.
Yes.
For your vehicle.
Or one of my vehicles.
Yes.
And there was a little bit of fraudulent messaging there. Yeah. But anybody that is going to do this would be lying to some extent anyway, saying like, is this your vehicle? Yeah, sure. Click. Yep. So I need to go in and see what's going on with Becky because I don't think I've received a registration thing. But that said, Becky is also registered as non-op. So I was talking to somebody and they're like, yeah, if your vehicle's registered non-op, you don't get a paperwork. And I'm pretty sure you still do. And they send it to you and they go, this vehicle's registered non-op. If you want to continue non-op, you don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
If you want to register it, now you need to send in a payment.
Yeah.
And I don't think I got that paperwork.
Interesting.
So I need to go to DMV.
Yeah.
Maybe I can go in. You found it online.
Yeah, there's an online help chat thing that you can talk to somebody.
And that's how you found out that it wasn't registered to you? Okay, maybe I can do it that way.
Yeah.
So I don't have to go sit at DMV. But so we're testing this theory. Yep. We're seeing if somebody can just release liability at any time. And so now I need to go and find out if Becky has been released to liability because Tyler phoned it in and released the liability of the vehicle.
Yeah.
You do need to know some things. You do need to know the VIN of the vehicle, I think the year, make, and model.
Which you can get the VIN from looking at most vehicles' windshields from the exterior of the vehicle.
Yep.
You need to know the license plate. I think you need to know the person's mailing address with the DMV, who's the registered owner.
Yeah.
And I want to say there was a couple of other pieces of like personal information that are not difficult pieces of information to get. So I'm pretty sure I was able to get everything. I think I had to confirm a couple things with you. Yeah. But I was like,
you needed to get the VIN.
Yeah.
Because it sits behind my shop.
Yeah.
And I gave it to you because I knew we were playing with this game. We were testing this theory to see if it would work. But so I'll get on that and I'll figure out if the vehicle's been released, and we'll inform people about this possible loophole that's out there in the DMV database, pranks that you can play on your friends or whatever, And maybe we can expose this issue to DMV one way or another and say, like, this is a problem. You guys need to fix this. You should not be able to release liability on a random person's vehicle.
Yeah. Yep. So anyways, this has been in the works now for over a year, because it was over a year ago that I went through this process with the registration last year. And that's when we were like, oh, let's try it with Becky and see what happens.
Yeah.
And so, over a year in the making. Hopefully we can kind of check it out and see if it worked or not.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Yep. We should definitely do that.
Yeah. So let's see. 4Runner Kermit updates. I have the dash completely torn apart right now in the 4Runner.
Wow. Okay.
For
Why?
2 reasons.
Yeah.
A, my fan speed switch that goes 0 through 4.
Oh, for like your heater?
For the heater, it's the cabin fan, right?
Yeah.
So it didn't work on the highest setting.
Yeah. So it went 1 through 3.
It went 1 through 3, and then the contacts inside the switch on 3 were kind of loosey-goosey. So it'd sometimes work on 3. I'd have to jiggle it around a little bit to get it to work properly and come on it all, right? And so I found a dude on Instagram who has a yard full of like 2nd gen 4Runners, 1st gen or 3rd gen pickups, like that era of Toyota vehicles in SoCal.
He needs to be my friend.
Yes. He has any part you could ever want on an older Toyota, from a Toyota vehicle.
How much are the clocks?
That's a good question. Didn't ask him.
Yeah, we should find that out.
But I got a switch from him for $50, $60 shipped up to me, and put that in. And that is probably the worst thing to get to, other than maybe the heater core.
Yeah.
That fucking
I think you have to take that off to get to the heater core, right?
I think so.
Yeah, that thing's deep.
Yeah, so that sucked to get to, but I got that off, switched it out, and I have 4 fan speeds now, which will be fantastic for snow wheeling and
with
the defroster. Yes. Well, yeah, you got to run the air conditioner to defrost the windows. True. But yeah, so it'll be really nice to have that for snow wheeling now. And I was going to install the re-rim clock.
Yeah. I'm excited to hear how that goes, because I got one for Bobcat.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure the dash layout in Bobcat and my 4Runner are the same.
Identical, I'm pretty sure.
So Lee's, and for people that have been asking out there for 2nd gen 4Runners, I've seen a few people asking now about that clock and whether it fits in 2nd gen 4Runners. It does not.
Oh.
The way that Lee has it right now.
Okay.
But we're working on a solution for it.
Got it.
So my dash is going to be torn apart here until hopefully we get a solution made for it. And then I'll be able to hopefully get it all back together before our trip next Wednesday.
Yeah.
Or this Wednesday.
So. This Wednesday when the episode comes out.
Yeah. So that's kind of the updates with Kermit. I have some other things I'm going to be doing to Kermit, such as building new bumpers, redoing the rear shocks, the rear coilovers.
Yeah.
So that they sit up 3 more inches off of the ground. And then I went out and did something.
Why are you stuttering and stalling?
Because
are you going to tell us, or are you going to just hinting at it?
Yeah. I mean, I hinted at it before already.
Oh, okay.
I said I bought something for winter wheeling.
Yeah. And then when we were doing our episode with Benji, you kind of talked about something on the unlimited category.
Yeah. I got tracks.
I guessed it.
I was wondering if you saw them.
I did not. Are
you
they
didn't
here?
See them? They are here.
Yeah. I wasn't really looking for them, but yeah.
I was wondering if the guys pointed them out to you or something.
Oh, cool. I'll have to check them out later.
Yeah. So they are a set of Ruby tracks.
Cool.
The 136-inch ones. So they're the bigger ones. So less ground pressure, more square inches on the snow, but they're red.
Oh.
And I need adapters made.
That are green?
I just need, just adapters made.
Oh,
it doesn't
for
matter
lug patterns?
Yeah, for lug patterns.
So you can get wider?
Yeah.
Or is it because you need to space them anyway so that the track's not hitting? Like, do you have to space them off your axle regardless?
You do. You have to clear the hubs.
Yeah.
So however big your hubs are, you need a spacer big enough to clear the hubs from the sprocket of the track. But the track is its own lug pattern.
Oh.
It's its own pattern design.
Okay.
And Scott from Ruby Tracks found out this pattern where he could keep the bolt pattern on the sprocket the same, and it clears all the different bolt patterns of 8 on 170, 8 on 6.5, 6 on 5.5, 5 on 5.5, all the main off-road bolt patterns. So you can get an adapter made that has whatever bolt pattern you need for your axle to the Ruby Tracks bolt pattern.
Yeah.
And it should all clear and work with every single bolt pattern.
Oh, sweet. So you're going to call Bora?
Yep. I've called Bora. And now that I'm thinking about it, they were supposed to call me back yesterday and they didn't. So I need to call them again, but I'm having the Ruby Tracks came with adapters for 6 on 5.5. So in theory, I should be able to bolt those right onto the Bronco right now, which could be a lot of fun.
That would be really nice.
I think in order to bolt them onto like a regular Toyota axle, a 6 on 5.5, you need a thicker spacer than what they came with.
Probably.
Because those ASIN hubs, the hubs of Toyota solid axles, they just stick out for a long ways. So I think you need a bigger spacer there.
I could put my slugs in.
You could. That might clear with the slugs.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah, bring Bobcat over. No, I'm going to take the Ruby Tracks while the Bora adapters are getting made for the 8 on 170 pattern for the 4Runner. I'm going to take the Ruby Tracks, fully disassemble them, so it's just the frame, and send them over to our stripper.
Yeah.
And get them powder-coated neon green.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got that project now in the works. I have the tracks in my possession.
Wow.
I got a call from our good buddy Nick Bailey at Avalanche Technical while I was at SEMA.
I was going to ask if you consulted with him, because I know that he designed his custom with a little bit more lift in the front to help hold things up.
Yep.
Okay.
So these are not custom made. They're off of a Chevy Suburban that this guy was using them on, and he ended up wanting to make 2 more snow vehicles, 2 more snow Suburbans to get into his property. And so he just bought 3 new sets of Ruby Tracks and offloaded his used set.
Oh, wow.
So
Must be nice.
Yeah, right. I'm like, man, those are the kinds of people you want to have around, or people who have too much money and they just offload stuff for
I
good
don't
prices.
need this set anymore.
Yeah. So I got a great deal on the tracks, used, but not, I mean, they're in great condition.
Sounds like it. Yeah.
And the really nice thing about Ruby Tracks is that they use regular snowmobile treads.
Oh,
so you can go out and get a 136-inch snowmobile belt and just throw that on the Ruby Tracks.
Oh, okay. So if it's worn down or damaged or whatever, you just go buy a snowmobile.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep. So, I get to set up all that. I need to set up chain connection points on my axles, on the Super Tundra axles.
Yep.
So that the chains keep the tracks from inverting.
Yeah.
You can go out and use them without that. You just have to be really careful about what you're doing.
Yeah. Or else they mess stuff up.
Yes, they do very, very quickly.
So while you were at SEMA, you got a call from Nick Bailey, you were saying?
Yeah. And he was like, hey, this guy wants to buy 3 new sets of tracks for his vehicle. So he's going to offload the used one.
Got it.
Are you interested? And I was like, yes,
maybe.
It's really bad timing. I should not be buying these, but yes.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, nothing says tire inflation, deflation like deleting your tires. So it'll be a great marketing piece for MORRFlate now.
How to air down your Ruby Tracks.
Yes. We might do that for the April Fool's sale next year.
There you go.
Ruby Track deflators. Oh man. So anyways, I have a set of Ruby Tracks now, and I'm really, really excited to go and use them in the snow.
Yeah. Well, we did get some dustings here fairly recently, but nothing big enough. Boreal's open, by the way.
A bunch of the ski lifts are starting to open up now. Yeah.
That's pretty wild and crazy.
Yeah. Speaking of snow stuff and ski resorts, you know Alpine Meadows, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did you know that there was a massive avalanche at Alpine Meadows in 1983?
No.
There's an awesome documentary that just came out recently. I think it's on Netflix called Buried.
Okay.
And it's about the massive avalanche they had at Alpine Meadows in 1983.
Oh, interesting.
Phenomenal documentary.
Cool. I'll check it out.
Go check that out. Everybody out there.
Speaking about winter.
Yes.
I made a purchase myself.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
What did you get?
I got a camper shell for Clifford.
Ah,
A used camper shell off the market. It was like $300.
Nice.
Yeah, it was, and red. And it's really a good from far from, well, it's good from far and far from okay. I don't know. It's not perfect, but
yeah,
you know,
it looks like it's in good condition.
It's in great condition. It's fine. Like that's fine. I was just saying, like, when you're looking from afar, it looks like it perfectly matches the truck. And when you get close, it doesn't. It's red, but it's not. It's a different red. Mine's more of like a burgundy kind of color, and it's more of a fire truck, you know.
Gotcha.
But they're pretty damn close.
I didn't notice it walking around Clifford today.
Yeah, really?
That they were off. I noticed it in the picture you sent, but because you pointed it out.
Yeah. It's off, but it's not one of those things that's glaring.
No.
A bummer side of that, the whole thing is, I went almost up to Chico to get it. And the guy that I bought it off of, had it on his old school OBS Ford.
Okay.
Right. So I knew it fit that, but I think my bed is ever so slightly bent just from being used so much. And the back of the bed is pushed a little bit towards the cab. And therefore, the top bed rails are pinched in just a hair, and it didn't really fit that well. I used to have diamond plating toppers on there, and I had to take those off and able to get the camper shell to fit down and onto the bed.
Okay.
The guy also said it was watertight, and we just had a rainstorm go through, and there's definitely water inside the cab. So I'm kind of like, oh, gosh, okay. Granted, it's way better than having no camper shell at all, because I do have aluminum panels in the back of my truck for Snail armor right now that went through the rainstorm, didn't get wet at all because they're on a pallet, they're elevated, you know, and protected from the rain. So I'm still happy about the purchase. I'm not totally ecstatic that it's not 100% waterproof. We're going to have a long stretch of dry weather here. It seems like at least a week long. And I might try to get the whole camper dried out, heat it up, maybe try to make sure there's no water moisture anywhere. And I might try to silicone like around the windows and stuff to prevent anything.
Can you tell where the water's coming in? Is it around the windows?
It's coming in somewhere in the windows. I tried to clean out the tracks because the windows can slide open and closed. So I cleaned out the tracks so I could fully close the windows because it wouldn't let me before. And a lot of like the hair and rubber stuff that protects the windows from getting like dust and things in it is so old that it just was falling apart. So I don't know if the tracks filled up with water and then overflowed into the cab, or if it was leaking through the window somewhere, or if it was leaking behind the window sills. So it definitely was having some leaking problems there. Otherwise, it's great. I mean, it needs new gas struts on the back door.
Okay.
That's a cheap and easy fix. And it does have a slider in the front at the cab, and that one is missing like the locking mechanism on it. So besides that, I'm stoked. I finally got a camper shell. It's going to be great for winter, and then I'll probably pull it off again once the rainy season's over. Yeah. But I'm coming out with the new Tundra panels.
Nice.
And they are so wide or long, I don't know how you want to say it. The vehicle's tailgate is so wide that tailgate panel does not fit in the bed of Charlotte.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Okay. I believe the bed for Charlotte is like 5'5".
Yeah.
And the tailgate is like 5'6".
Jeez.
Plus packaging makes it a little longer on that. So it is crazy. So anytime that I do sell one of those, I'm probably going to take Clifford. So I did want to give it more weather protection of traveling this winter.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so that's fun, and it's just it changes the truck up a little bit. It looks good, so I'm happy with the purchase. All in all, I think the water problem is not that big of an issue, but I do want to try. I might try to make it more weatherproof because I might take Clifford and Bobcat down to King of the Hammers this year, and I might sleep in the bed of Clifford as where I sleep.
Yeah,
but I want to make it. There's lot of wind that happens at King of the Hammer. So I need to prevent sand and stuff from coming in.
Yeah.
Is my main concern.
Nice.
Yeah.
Speaking of camping at Hammers, I'm getting the Lance. I'm starting to get the Lance dialed in.
Yeah.
So I drove around with the Lance on the F350 for like a week.
Yeah, for a little while.
5-6 days. And it drives awesome.
I'm sure it does. Yeah.
I'm still super impressed with that truck. I've had a couple people in the Lance while it's on the back of the truck, and like we've like jumped around side to side to see how much sway it has. And everybody has said, oh, this has way less sway in it than my truck does in my camper.
Okay. Yeah.
So the dually is doing its job. The Hellwig sway bar is doing its job. So, yeah. And when I did the AMA on Reddit, I did it from in the camper, just sitting in the warehouse. So I put the slide out and then sat at the dinette and had the Bluetooth music on. I did swap out the stereo deck in there and put in a Bluetooth one that I had laying around. And so that was really nice to be able to just connect via Bluetooth and have music in the camper while I was sitting there doing the AMA.
Nice. Yeah.
And since I was plugged into the shore power, I had power to the laptop and just hanging out in there, and it's super cozy.
Nice.
So
yeah, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You drove it up to my house when we did episode 450, and there's some windy little hills as you drive out there, and some narrow roads, narrow driveway coming in. And I asked you about it, and you're like, man, it does fine.
Did
like
great.
It cruised, no problem. Came over the little rolling hills, no problem. Did the little kind of S turn on one of the roads out there, no problem. I'm like, cool. Sounds great.
Yeah, it's been really awesome. So the next step, and I should have done it while the camper was freaking on there, and I didn't for some reason, is I need to measure and see how long of an extension, a hitch extension I need to be able to tow a trailer behind with the Lance on it.
Right. Yeah.
So
you got to load it back up, I guess.
I got to load it back up. I need to load up and move it in the warehouse anyways. We're kind of trying to figure out how to logistically fit 100 to 200 pallets in the warehouse right now. So I need to move it into a different spot so I can take measurements for an extension there. But all I really need left in order to kind of be ready to use the Lance for King of the Hammers, and I want to use the Lance to do some winter camping and winter wheeling, so I can take the 4Runner out with the tracks for a weekend.
Oh, that'll be fun for Winter Fun Fest.
Exactly. Perfect. For Winter Fun Fest to be awesome. Winter Fun Fest off to see, because I don't know if I'll keep the tracks on the 4Runner for Winter Fun Fest.
Yeah, there's a lot of road driving.
Yeah, and so I'd have to tow the 4Runner out to the trailheads.
Yeah,
and that means packing up the Lance each morning in order to do it, which is doable, but it just takes up a lot of space at trailheads then.
Yeah. But you're still going to bring the Lance to a Winter Fun Fest.
Totally. Yeah. That'll be nice. So the only real thing I have left to do is the hitch extension and then a weight distribution hitch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it's fun. The torque lift hitch I put on, the Magnum 30K hitch I put on, has a lower rating than the stock F350 hitch.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
But you need that torque lift Magnum on in order to run their weight distribution hitches.
Got it.
And once you get the weight distribution hitch on, then your ratings go up.
Way up.
Yeah. And the torque lift, all their camper tie downs, everything tie into their hitch as well.
Okay.
So
I want to get a weight distribution hitch for Clifford as well.
Yeah. They help a lot with distributing the weight and allowing it to be safer while towing and allow you to have higher tow capacities too. Yeah.
And I'm not worried about the higher tow capacity. I mean, because Clifford's, I don't need to tow more than what Clifford can do. Yeah. At least at this point in my life. I just want to, it's a safer towing situation. It distributes the weight. If you load a vehicle slightly off of where you're normally at, it compensates for you, so it makes your error of margin a little larger. So it's it's just the sway factor is way reduced. So I think it's just a safety thing that I want to throw on there.
Yeah, I think it's smart. So as I'm getting into towing more and more, like I used to be, and I think a lot of people feed into this, and it's the same mentality I had about firearms as well. You're afraid of stuff you don't know about.
Sure.
Right. And so watching people tow heavy loads around driving the way some people do. Before I knew much about it, I'm like, dude, that you are asking for problems. And there's still a lot of times in California, just because of the traffic density we have in California. It's like, there's a reason why we have 55 mile an hour speed limits on towing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, towing with this truck, it's so much safer than I ever thought towing could be.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it can handle it all. It has a great stabilization to it. It has a lot of features in it to make towing safer, a lot of technologies that I'm like, okay. And as you start learning more, you're like, this is interesting as how safe towing can actually be if you have the right equipment.
Yeah.
And I think that's the kind of the point is that do your research to get the right equipment for what you want to be doing.
100%. Yeah.
So some fun things. The F-350 has had its first recall.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it's a stupid recall. I'm like, I really don't really care if this recall gets done, but I wanted to make a big stink about another issue that's not being recalled.
And what's that?
So the recall that they're doing right now is in the backup view, the backup camera, some point under some condition, it doesn't show the guides that turn, as you're turning the vehicle during backing up. There's guides that show up on the screen to show you kind of where your tire placement's going to be.
Okay.
In some sort of condition, those don't show up.
Got it.
And so the NHTSA has said that can be a safety issue because it may not tell people where they're going all the time and it may cause an accident.
What's NHTSA?
The National Highway and Traffic Safety Administration.
Okay.
So NHTSA.
All right. So it's sort of this like hierarchy safety thing for vehicles?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah. If they deem something to be unsafe for a vehicle, they force OEMs to start a recall on that.
Wow.
They also do a bunch of other stuff. NHTSA defines all of the, I believe, safety belt. What are those called?
Drains.
Safety belt. So it's a
seat belts.
Seat belt. Thank you. So it's not a safety belt. It's something else. A seat belt. They define all the seat belt laws. They define child safety seats, child seat laws. So NHTSA does a lot towards traffic safety stuff. And so if they deem something on a vehicle to be unsafe for traffic, they can force OEMs to do a recall on that.
Okay. Got it.
So,
reversing on your truck, in some circumstance, the lines don't show up.
Exactly. So I've deemed that a safety issue.
Okay. Because people don't know how to reverse now without a reverse camera.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So there's more to that. I'm going to remember what you just said.
Okay.
So
what did we do 10 years ago?
Your mind's going to be blown in a few minutes. So my issue with the Ford, the F-350, is that on the 2023 F-350, if you remove the tailgate off of the vehicle, none of the cameras work anymore on the vehicle.
Really?
Yeah.
So if you remove the tailgate, therefore taking away the reverse camera,
one tailgate on the vehicle, or the one camera on the vehicle that's in the tailgate.
Yeah. None of the other cameras work.
No.
How many other cameras are there?
There's at least 4 more.
Okay.
On the vehicle.
I do know that when you put that vehicle into reverse, the dash will go to like a 360 degree view thing.
Yep.
Okay. But so if you remove the tailgate, that doesn't show up?
Nope.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, no other camera works. It just gives you a big blue screen. It looks like the blue screen of death in computer world.
That's
right?
funny. It's like this one's out. I don't know how to calculate this.
And so what's really fucked up is that they added a in-bed camera to the F-350s this year in the 2023s. I don't know if the 2022s had them.
It's out of
it's up by your third brake light.
Yeah.
It's up there, your third brake light. So you can view in your bed.
Yeah.
And they set it that way so you can either check on your load that you're carrying, or it makes it easy to back up for goosenecks.
Oh, yeah.
Goosenecks and fifth wheels.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you have the tailgate off, you don't get to use that fucking camera.
Yeah. But you wouldn't be able to use that camera anyway, because if you have the tailgate off, you probably have the camper in.
Or I'm loading the camper, and loading the camper would be super useful to have that camera turned on.
True. Okay.
So anyways, none of the cameras work anymore. And I'm like, so I brought that up to the service tech. I was like, is there a recall for this? They're like, no, I haven't heard about that before. And I was like, oh yeah, I think that's a bigger safety issue than not having guides on a reverse camera.
Yeah, guides not showing up is one thing, but not having anything, not having any view of the. Do your mirrors still work?
The mirrors still function.
Okay, good. Glad to hear that. Yeah.
Why?
Because you have mirrors still. You can use your mirrors to reverse. I've taught the assistant how to do it. So
maybe. Yeah.
When you reverse, Tyrone, things come from behind you.
Yes, that's true. So anyways, it's just a really annoying feature because like there's cameras in the front of the vehicle that'll show you how close you're getting to stuff when you're parking.
Will the beepers still work?
Nope. Oh. Those don't work at all either. So I was like, that seems like a bigger issue. And they're like, oh, yeah, I've never heard about that before. And I was like, well, you should let people, because it's definitely well known on the forum boards that this is a problem.
Yeah.
And Dodge doesn't have this problem. All of Dodge's cameras still work when you take the tailgate off. And the 2022 and earlier trucks all still work when you take the tailgate off.
Oh, that's weird.
So they missed something with the 2023 and it sounds like it's just a programming fix. And they're like, oh, that's good to know. And I was like,
so you're going to do anything about it?
Is there anything you can do about it? And they're like, I mean, no, not really. And I was like, well, can you move it up the chain of command and escalate the problem? And they're like, no, it just kind of has to come to enough people complaining about it, or NHTSA has to get involved. And that's what I learned about NHTSA and how they control recalls.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, so now I'm going to go down a rabbit hole of calling NHTSA and see if I can get NHTSA to do anything about it. So anyways, that was the recall thing with the F-350.
Got it.
Now back to your comment.
Yeah.
You said something like, how did we back up 10 years ago without cameras?
Yeah, exactly.
So I got to go and say hi to CJ with a CJ.
Yeah.
Got to see how he's doing. He's doing awesome.
Good.
I'm just amazed at that guy's mental aptitude to always have a positive outlook in whatever situation he's in.
Yes.
The shit that he went through from getting crushed between two vehicles, having to go undergo a lot of surgeries. He's regrowing his entire sciatic nerve.
Yeah. And I know the very small stint I had in some medical work that I did, a nerve grows about 1 centimeter a year.
Yeah. And it's got like,
and if he has to go an inch, or so, and when the nerve is growing, it does not feel good.
No, it's not good.
It's not a fun, playful, joyful feeling.
It's not a tingle. No, not tingle and jingle.
Not a tingle or jingle. It's a stabbing, throbbing pain.
Yeah, it sucks. Yeah. So I'm always just amazed at that dude's outlook on life. So I got to catch up with him a little bit, and he got a Rivian, the SUV, the R1S, recently. And so I haven't been in a Rivian yet, and gotten to really take a deep dive into looking into Rivians.
Yeah.
So we spent some time playing around with his Rivian while I was there.
Nice. Is that an innuendo?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
He has no nerves, so he can't feel it anyway. So no, I'm just kidding. Sorry, dark humor. Anyway, so I got to play around with his Rivian, and that Rivian has a launch feature.
Okay.
So you can put it into sport mode.
Yeah.
Lower the suspension all the way, and you stand on the brake, and then stand on the gas pedal. And then let go of the brake.
And it thrusts you out.
And it definitely thrusts. Yes. 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a big vehicle to do that with.
It's a 9,000 pound vehicle.
Yeah.
0 to 60 in under 3 seconds. It's a quad motor. So one motor per wheel.
Okay.
And we played with the launch.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It rearranges your insides. It does.
It's fast.
Yes.
I've done it in a Tesla before. It's fun. It's an interesting experience. And you would assume a shift should happen at some point.
No,
it doesn't because of the electric motors.
Yes. And what's really cool about it is that you get the initial off the line jump, right?
Yeah.
But because there's no shifting, it just continues to accelerate. So not only do you get the initial pushback in the seat, it continues to push you back harder and harder and harder until you let up.
Yes. Yeah. Where any other vehicle out there, the non-electric vehicle out there, you have to have that slow point and then the thrust back into your seat again, motion for that shift from first to second.
Yeah.
But yeah, the electrics don't do that. And it is a little of a bit of a bizarre sensation because you're like, we're still going. We're still accelerating. We're still moving. Yeah. And there has not been a shift point in there. So, which we're so accustomed to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So another thing that I'm not accustomed to is one pedal driving.
Is it so it automatically brakes for you?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So the Bronco has this in the off-roading, one of the off-road features.
Yeah, I think you talked about it.
You can set the Bronco to one pedal driving. And so in electric vehicles, the way it works is it uses the regen braking as most of its braking.
Sure.
And it will come to a complete stop if you don't have your foot on anything.
Mm-hmm.
In the Rivian, it's a pretty extreme braking. He had the regen set to high.
Okay.
But I mean, like, I took my foot off the pedal thinking I was going to coast into a stop sign, and it didn't. I stopped like 100 feet before the stop sign. I was like, oh, that's weird. I don't know if I like that. And he goes, yeah, dude, it's one pedal driving. Like, he goes, I don't even use the brake pedal anymore. He goes, I haven't touched the brake pedal in weeks on this car.
And you could if you need to.
You could if you need to.
Yeah.
And like, if there's an emergency, you need to make an invasive action or something.
My lawnmower is almost the opposite of that.
Yeah. You never hit the gas?
No. It has an automatic, it's always moving.
Okay. Yeah.
And you press the brakes to stop.
Yeah.
And then when you let off the brake, it accelerates and goes to its speed for you.
So
and you can feather your speed by applying the brake.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's a complete opposite.
Yeah. So here's an interesting thing that I totally didn't think about. And I don't know if it's just one of those things, our phones are always listening to us. But the next morning, 2 days later, a video popped up on Instagram of a young female who had only ever learned how to drive on a Tesla.
Okay.
So she's only ever done one pedal driving.
Yes.
She doesn't even know what that second pedal is, let alone a third pedal.
That's shocking, because what if there's an emergency and you got to stop faster than a one pedal brake?
Apparently she's never had an emergency.
Yeah.
So she got into a friend's vehicle that was not a Tesla, that does not have one pedal driving, and ran into something at slow speed because she didn't know how to brake.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So it's like, it's one of those things. It's like, yeah, what did we do 10 years ago without backup cameras?
You're right.
And we did an episode a long time ago about the technologies being added to vehicles. Are they making better drivers? Are they making better driving scenarios? Whatever it is. And it's like, I would argue that technology is making driving safer, but making worse drivers.
Yeah.
And this is one of those things. And like,
because we're getting to the point where you don't have to truly pay attention while driving.
No.
Right. Lane correction or the automatic cruise control selection is almost not driving.
Yeah.
And I mean, at some point,
I wasn't paying attention to half of the time I was driving to Trail Hero, and I was doing 80 miles an hour towing because the truck just drives itself. You wiggle the steering wheel every 30 seconds and it drives itself.
Right.
But it was one of those things where it's like, we've made jokes about, oh yeah, how do you get a millennial anti-theft device with a third pedal?
Yeah. By having a manual
transmission.
Yep.
It's getting to the point where a Gen Z anti-theft device is having a brake pedal.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just not having an EV. So I was like, wow, I would have never have thought about that. But after driving the Rivian and seeing how aggressive the one pedal driving and braking is on it, and then seeing the video of somebody who's never learned how to drive, never driven a gas combustion vehicle, internal combustion vehicle before, I'm like, I could see how that could happen.
Yeah, that's wild. So you brought up Gen Z, and I went on a small little rabbit hole of that, but I didn't know what came after Gen Z.
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. I've thought about this, and I just eventually got to the point where I was like, I don't really care. I gave up.
It's Gen A.
Really?
Yeah.
So they started over?
The mini assistant is a Gen A.
Wow.
Kid.
I want to be Gen A.
Right? Yeah.
I don't like being X. So we're Gen Y? Millennial? Oh, you're Gen X.
I'm
pretty
Gen
much.
X.
I'm a millennial.
Gen X, yeah.
So am I technically Gen Y then, or is there a Gen Y and then a Gen Z?
There isn't a Gen Y.
Okay.
It's millennials and then Z. And now it's A.
Interesting.
The kids now.
How many years is a generation?
I think it's 20, roughly.
Is it 20 years? That much?
Yeah, because every 20, like you'll have kids in 20 years, right? Then the kids roughly 20 years later will have kids. So I think that's how they.
Gotcha.
At least that's how it was a long time ago. Nowadays, it seems to be longer. People are waiting longer to have kids.
Yeah.
But you know, without going down a rabbit hole of how soon kids should have kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's more or less every 20 years that is the next generation.
So
roughly.
we cycle through the alphabet every 400, 520 years.
Our alphabet, yeah.
Yeah. Our alphabet. Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. So
but I was kind of curious about, I was like, what's after Z? And then they showed A. I was like, okay.
All right.
Circling back through.
All right. That was simpler than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
I was hoping they would come up with some cool name like Generation Tide Pod or something.
Right. Or I was wondering if they were going to go to Gen AA or Gen AB,
the Gen A, the Alcoholic Anonymous generation.
Speaking of that, I saw a funny shirt. It was a bunch of batteries and they're like, I'm at an AA meeting.
Okay. You way to get that.
I know. That was pretty funny.
Please tell me you bought it.
No, I didn't. I just saw it.
Opportunity missed.
I have a small little house update.
Okay.
If you're all done with your camper talk.
Yeah, I think I'm all done with camper talk, and I don't know if I have anything else. So
yeah. I'm not sure if I mentioned this on a previous podcast. I think I talked about it briefly, but we had an HVAC guy come to look at our system because our Google Nest was reporting errors in the middle of the night that the HVAC system it was turning off at random points.
Okay.
And so we had an HVAC system guy come out. Long story short, on the HVAC system, it was wires weren't connected to the Nest correctly.
Okay.
And it wasn't the electrician's fault. It was just old wiring was set up differently back when this house was built.
Interesting.
And the wire codes mean different things now.
Okay.
And so they just didn't put 1 and 2 together on that.
Okay.
While the HVAC guy was doing his inspection, he went to go look at the ducts. And we have 2 systems in this house. One's for upstairs, one's for downstairs. The downstairs system is underneath the house. It's sort of a split level house, and one of the sections of the house is elevated foundation, and the whole HVAC system's under there. So the HVAC guy went to go look at the ducting work and discovered 3 to 5 inches of water underneath our house.
Well, it's for the ducks.
Yeah, exactly. They're swimming around and pooping in our water.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We had a leaky water line.
3 to 5 inches of water under the house.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. Pretty gnarly.
That's a lot.
Yes. It was a lot.
Wow. Okay.
So, and after finding and looking at the hole, it has been leaking for a very long time because it was a very small hole for where it was leaking out of.
And so you guys are on a well, right?
Yes.
So does that,
we don't pay for water.
yeah, I was going to say, so you couldn't tell that it was leaking because you had a normally high water bill.
Yeah. We pay for electricity to pump the water up.
Okay.
But we don't pay for water.
Interesting. And so, I mean, how much does that impact your well? The reserves in your well? Or
it impacts the well, and it also stresses the well out because it's always running for the most part. But we didn't notice that it was always running.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the guy was not able to inspect the ducts because he didn't want to go swimming, and I don't blame him.
Yeah.
And so I called my plumber and I was like, "Hey, we got a leak. It's under the house. Like we had the water's off. I'm going to try to get as much of this water out, but we're going to need some help here soon." And he's like, "Okay, I'll come over on Friday." And I think that was a Wednesday or maybe Tuesday. And so I set a hose up under the house and went out to the front of the house and into the ditch, which was a little lower. And I sucked that water all the way from the house out to the road. And I let it go all day or most of the day. And then I went to Harbor Freight and I bought a sump pump.
Okay.
And then we did some other things that evening. And then when we got back, I'm like, it's a little late. I don't want the sump pump to run and it to dry. So I'll just set the sump pump up in the morning. The next morning comes around and the siphon had taken all of the water out.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I dug down, I got a shovel and dug down into the ground a little bit to try to just draw more water into that area. And then I siphoned that out more, and that was cleared out within that 24-hour period. All the water from under the house was out, which was cool. And then I got a floor fan, a fan that blows across the floors and blew air into there, just trying to get air movement to dry it out as much as possible. And then the next day the plumber came and I gave him this big roll of visqueen, plastic stuff, so he could lay it out in front of him and not have to get soaking wet and muddy. And he was appreciative of that. And then, he fixed the piece of pipe and then showed us the hole.
Oh yeah.
And it was like
a tiny ass hole.
It was like the size of it was bigger than a pinprick, but it was smaller than the end of a pencil.
Yeah.
Like maybe a ballpoint pen.
I was going to say it looked about the size of like a ballpoint on a ballpoint pen.
Exactly. And that was it. And so.
And 2 to 3 inches, or 2 to 5 inches, 3 to 5?
3 to 5, depending on where it was underneath the house, but it was.
That much water from that hole.
Yeah.
Wow.
And who knows how long it was leaking for. So just the other day, we had the HVAC guys come back, inspect the ducts, and they're like, yeah, they're all fucked up. And we're like, okay.
Have you been getting them high?
Huh?
Have you been getting the ducks high?
Yeah. They've been getting, they've been soaking in water for a while.
Yeah.
And apparently there's been duct work done in the past and like they've sort of patched together. And there's ones that are just like open underneath the house and stuff. And so we're like, okay, we're going to replace everything under the house. Yeah. So it's about $2,000 that they're coming in, but they're adding some dampers and things. And then they're going to go throughout the house and like use those little fans to detect how much air is coming out of
anemometer,
whatever it is. And so they're going to now make all the ducts or the air registers producing the same amount of airflow in all the rooms.
So you're going to get all your ducks in a row.
I'm going to get all the ducks in a row. Good one, Tyler. Yeah,
thank you.
Liked it. So yeah, that's the story for the house. But the bigger concern now is this isn't, I know this isn't the first time that we've had a leak underneath the house. So the question is,
when's the next one?
When's the next one? And is it going to be in the house or in the walls? So we've been having a conversation with our plumber guy about what's the next steps. What do we need to do to prevent this? And really it looked like we need to replace all the copper that's underneath the house at minimum.
Mm-hmm.
The master bathroom's walls already are all exposed.
Yeah.
And so we're probably going to replace at least all that. And then we have not touched the bathroom. There's another bathroom. So the master bathroom shares a wall with the guest bathroom, and those are both exposed. So both of those lines,
that's nice.
All those lines can get replaced. The guest bathroom downstairs, we didn't remodel. I haven't done any remodeling on it yet. And so it might turn out that when we do work on that, we're going to just open the wall up anyway, and we're going to replace those lines.
Yeah.
And that might replace almost all the lines in all the walls with the exception of the copper that runs through the foundation.
Yeah.
We're also looking at possibly getting a water softener / filter that comes from before the well or between the well and the house.
Yep.
Reducing the mineral count, which will also reduce the wearing down on the copper pipes.
Oh, true. Yeah.
So yay, moving into a new house, a new old house that has had problems before and is exposing problems again.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just sort of unexpected expenses, but that's how house owning goes, right?
Yep, it is.
Yeah. Pretty crazy.
Wow. I'm kind of disappointed you didn't create an underground swimming pool.
Well, I did tell the assistant that if we had dug a basement, we would have noticed this problem earlier.
True. Yes.
And she would have a wine cellar, but it probably would have been a wine swimming pool at that point.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Wine swimming pools are great.
Absolutely. And
Vegas has a couple hotels built around that.
Probably. I think an underground sauna, hot tub situation could be fun.
Yeah. I agree. Well, cool, man. Bummed to hear that the house is having issues, but I'm glad to hear that you're finding them now before everything is all set and you have a lot more shit in the house. And so that's cool. I'm glad to hear Bobcat's coming along.
Yep. Thanks.
Hopefully that fixes everything and you can start wheeling again.
Yeah.
And we can go wheeling on Wednesday.
Yeah, hopefully. We'll see.
Yep. Well, cool, man. If people want to get a hold of us, you guys can do that over at snailtrail4x4.com through the website. I think there's a couple contact places there. You can email us. You can get in touch with us on Instagram. There's lots of good ways. You guys know what those are. Give us a call, though. We love listening to the voicemails. I think that's been a lot of fun hearing from people on the voicemails. So that number is 916-345-4744. Yeah, leave some feedback. Give us a story, whatever it is. We don't care what it is. We just like hearing from you guys. We love interacting with all the listeners out there. So interact and we'll chat with you guys with whatever it's going on. So Jimmy Jet, J Daddy. Any final words for everybody out there?
Support small businesses.
And with that, my friends, keep crawling.
I got one for you.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready for this one. I'm getting this one.
Which bear is the most condescending?
I don't know.
Panda.
Oh. Okay.